Dorf, and most of you know me as Lady Travel. Today is Tuesday, March 19th, 2024, and I am going to bring you the exciting latest news and offerings on all things savings and travel related. Please be careful to note that these are just recaps of the news and things that we happened upon, and they're not in any way meant to reflect Top Secret Travel or our host agency's views. The first news story that we have for you, last Thursday, March 14th was National Pie Day. I hope you had your pie. For this week's slice of key lime pie, we have the following for you. Spring break was in full swing in Florida. New Smyrna Beach in particular, once again, was in the spotlight, same as last year, but this year for a different reason. Spring break again. A 16-year-old who was on the beach decided to pull out a gun amid a crowd of spring breakers in New Smyrna Beach last Thursday, and he has been charged now as an adult. Felixander Solis Guzman of Lakeland was jailed Thursday on 3 counts of aggravated assault on a law enforcement officer, 2 counts of tampering with evidence, delinquent in possession of a firearm during the commission of a felony, improper exhibition of a firearm, possession of marijuana with intent to sell, and resisting arrest with violence. The story goes that around 3:45 last Thursday, Volusia County deputies were patrolling the area of the beach north of the Flagler Avenue when they heard a crowd yelling, and they ran, and people were running, and they were shouting, "He has a gun!" Deputies ran to the scene, and they found Solis Guzman wielding a handgun. The Volusia deputies drew their firearms and advanced toward the suspect, ordering him to drop the gun. This was per the sheriff's Facebook page. Solis Guzman ran through the crowd and headed into the ocean. He decided to throw his gun and the bag into the water, per the deputies. He then surrendered with his hands up. No injuries were reported. Deputies recovered the gun and the bag, which held 20 small baggies of marijuana, according to the deputies. Initially, he was taken to the Volusia County Detentional Juvenile Center in Daytona, but now we hear he's being tried as an adult. A second gun incident happened in New Smyrna Beach, but thankfully the deputies were able to intercede before the gun could make it onto the beach.
Spring break in full swing. We're investigating guns at the beach. A shocking video of the moments the sheriff's office says an armed teen was arrested in front of crowds on the sand. Now another gun found right nearby. Thanks for joining us tonight at the college basketball. I'm Manny Martinez. Deputies, they are all over the beaches this week, and Fox 35 Stephen Delfonte happened to catch the Volusia sheriff himself while he was out on patrol.
It's hard to not see either a police officer or deputy. They have really ramped up patrols this year. I spoke with Sheriff Mike Chitwood. He tells me today the first part of this stop had a trafficking amount of weaponry. He says they are cracking down on drugs and weapons, especially after a 16-year-old pointed a gun on the beach. It definitely keeps you a little bit more on guard, so you don't want to watch your back, make sure you're a little bit more cautious out here. But I mean, with the extra staff out here, I think it makes you feel a little bit more safe.
Beachgoers taking notice that there are extra patrols this weekend. Law enforcement staffing ramped up not only because of spring break, but following this incident. Video shows a 16-year-old pointing a gun at a New Smyrna Beach crowd on Thursday.
Well, I don't know about you, but I'm not feeling a day in the sand right now. No, I think I'll skip that for now. In cruise news, a Florida man was detained after a 27-year-old woman was found dead on a cruise ship. Authorities reported that a cruise ship in the Bahamas was the unfortunate site where a 27-year-old woman from Florida was discovered deceased last Monday around 5:30 p.m. According to Royal Bahamas Police statement, reports of the woman's death began when the Criminal Investigation Department in the Grand Bahama was informed the female passenger had been found in a cabin on board a cruise line en route to the Bahamas. The responding police stated a team of medical personnel from the ship assisted and performed CPR, but no vital signs of life were detected and she was declared deceased. Authorities are currently investigating the death of Olivia Locker, who was traveling with her boyfriend of 3 years, Adam Migliore, 32 years old, who now faces drug charges after the police found a substance resembling cocaine in their bags. The ship sailed back to Florida Tuesday, but Migliore remained in custody in Grand Bahama, where he was arraigned last Wednesday. A close friend of the family stated they were having a good time and partying, and it got out of hand. Adam woke up, he saw her in that condition and got help, but she was already gone. It was an overdose. They are not blaming him, but obviously they did get the cocaine, so he was charged with possession. It was only a personal amount. You know how they mix everything these days with fentanyl, but until we get an autopsy, we are not going to know, this person stated. This is a sad situation. Don't do drugs at all, people. It's stupid. It's just super risky, and it is not worth the unfortunate outcome that it may have on everyone. We broke this story to you first last week. Still, the violence in Haiti continues to erupt, and Haiti's government declared a state of emergency and imposed a curfew after an explosion of gang-led violence started when thousands of prisoners escaped the country's two biggest prisons over the first weekend in March. The police were ordered to use all legal means at their disposal to enforce the curfew and apprehend the offenders, said a statement from the finance minister, Patrick, who is acting as prime minister while Ariel Henry is overseas trying to salvage support for the United Nations-backed security force to stabilize the country in its conflict with an increasingly powerful crime group. Gang led by Jimmy Cherzier, a former police officer known as Barbecue, are trying to force Henry from power. Yes, Barbecue. Pierre of the National Network for Defense of Human Rights said only about 100 of the national penitentiary's estimated 3,800 inmates remained inside after an assault on Saturday night. Royal Caribbean International has its private island in Labadee in Haiti, on the tip of the peninsula on Haiti's north coast, about 130 miles from the Port-au-Prince capital, which we talked about last episode. According to the Royal Caribbean blog, sailings were rerouted now to Grand Turk on Turks and Caicos and given an extra sea day and extra time in Falmouth, Jamaica. In other royal news, an emergency with a passenger on the Oasis-class Symphony of the Seas last Thursday when Sector San Juan's Coast Guard received a distress call from the cruise ship for urgent assistance for a 57-year-old American passenger with severe symptoms of a possible stroke. The Puerto Rican-based air station worked with the U.S. Coast Guard to make the evacuation happen quickly and safely. The United States Coast Guard successfully executed an evacuation of the passenger from the Symphony of the Seas. The operation took place in the Caribbean Sea, close to the Puerto Rico, during an 8-day cruise from Fort Lauderdale. The ship had just completed its visit to Curacao and was en route to Fort Lauderdale. They were thankful for calmer seas and no swells, which could lead to additional danger with the ship swaying as they're trying to stop the ship for recovery efforts. Crew members on board cruise ships undergo daily training specifically for those types of emergencies when they're evacuating and for recovery efforts. We wish for a speedy recovery for the passenger who was evacuated off of the ship. More news from Boeing. Boeing whistleblower John Barrett, 62, was found dead with a gunshot wound in South Carolina last Saturday. He had previously told a family friend not to believe what authorities would say if he was found dead, according to ABC News 4. Police are investigating after Mr. Barnett was discovered in a hotel car park in Charleston with a single gunshot wound to the head, along with a silver handgun and a white piece of paper that closely resembled a note. The coroner's report said he died from a self-inflicted wound. However, the Charleston Police Department is still investigating. Barnett retired from Boeing in 2019, and he accused his employer of 32 years of cutting corners and using substandard parts to build their planes. He claimed to have reported this to management, and it had been ignored. Boeing denies this. Meanwhile, another Boeing plane issue. Boeing 737 loses external panel mid-flight. lands in Oregon in the latest plane incident. A Boeing 737-800 lost an external panel mid-flight Friday with the latest issues involving one of the manufacturer's planes that was only discovered when it landed at the Oregon airport. United Airlines Flight 443 departed from San Francisco around 10:20 local time and landed safely at its destination in Rogue Valley International Medford Airport. When the plane reached the gate, an external lane panel was found missing, halting operations at the airport while a runway safety check was conducted, per Amber Judd, the airport director. There was no indication of a problem and no emergency was ever declared during the flight, which held 139 passengers and 6 crew on board, per United. The plane is 25 years old and will be repaired before returning to service. What? I mean, what? Boss, the plane, it has no panels. I mean, what's your take on this? Should we maybe retire these older planes and do something else? I don't know, a museum with them? Comment below. Let's get a thread going on this conversation. The next news story is also equally disturbing. Cruise passengers go missing in the British Virgin Islands. 3 cruisers disappeared in Tortola, British Virgin Islands. Passengers were enjoying a port of call to Tortola on March 10th, when their absence was noticed when they didn't return to the ship at the end of the day. 2 women and 1 man, Jean Carol Ospino Cano, Pamela Mesa Escobar, and Jessica Joana Marin Ramirez, citizens of Colombia, went missing. Local authorities are asking anyone who may know of their whereabouts to please contact the Department of Immigration. The British Virgin Islands are considered to be safe, especially during the daytime. The UK government reports that crime is low, but there have been some incidents. The risk level to travel to the BVI is considered low. The cruise line was forced to leave them behind when they did not return to the ship. It is the responsibility of the passengers to make sure they return on time. Unless guests take part in an excursion booked through the cruise line, which the cruise lines will wait for. Most cruise lines will only wait about 15 minutes before sailing and leaving with any delayed guests. Even though they could stay longer, it's totally at the captain's discretion. We hope for your safe return home. Please, passengers, when you're traveling, leave some type of itinerary in your cabin, a note, scribble where you're going if you're not using the ship's excursions. Always go in pairs or groups if you're wandering off the ship and you're not doing an excursion. Write where you're going, leave a clue behind. Book your excursions with your travel agent or with the ship in your pre-planning stages, or at the last minute on the ship before you leave. Book, when the ship's in port and you're looking at their excursions, at least book with the ship. Do not take risks, just be safe out there. The last story that I want to share with you all today is very interesting. We all know that flights get bumpy from time to time, and we hear the horror stories like that one that we talked about last week where the passengers hit the roof of the plane. What we found out about that allegedly it turned out to be a toggle switch in the cockpit that one of the attendants pressed into, causing the pilot's functions to do diversion things, whereas it ascended or descended, and therefore we had the turbulence where everyone got injured. This is what we're hearing. But we all know about turbulence if we fly. Bumpiness can cause us problems. Turbulence is the bumpiness caused by pockets of air, and it can make your flight very uncomfortable. Welcome to turbulent.com, turbulent.com, a new interactive map that can forecast turbulence for any flight's path, no matter where. The map provides forecasts for up to 12 hours away at various altitude levels. You put in your flight info, and then you'll be provided a graph and a map that will show you how rough your flight on the air might be. There's also marks on the map to show where the pilots have reported rough air. The categories you'll find are light turbulence, moderate bumps, strong, severe, and extreme. If you see extreme, you don't want to go. Happy travel planning tool indeed. We appreciate you listening to us today, and I hope that this channel brings you the content that you're looking for, especially when it comes to all things travel and savings. And if you're looking to make a decision on planning where, when to go, how much to spend on travel and food to I hope that we can answer all of your questions. And we ask that you please give us a like and subscribe, and please comment below and let us know what stories you have heard about or you would like to hear more about, and we'll be certain to check into that and bring you the relevant content on one of the next episodes. If you'd like to be a guest on the show, please let us know. I assure you, you'll be happy that you got in touch with us. Until the next time, travel like a king or a queen. Bye for now.